and using the Civil War to talk about black Americans. That war was not fought for black people to have guns. That's not.
That war was fought for black people to have freedoms in this country.
Yeah.
Actually, that's why the Civil War was fought.
Okay.
And the sad
that
part about
wasn't fought for black people to have guns. I think.
Actually, you know, funny fact is, black people did not get to enjoy the other freedoms until their Second Amendment rights were secured. And I think that that's one of the lessons that we learned.
Aren't allowed to enjoy the freedoms.
I disagree with you on that, Don. I disagree with you. And I think you're doing a disservice to our country by failing to recognize the fact that we have equality before the law.
And you live in this country, then you can disagree with me. But we're not. You mentioned that there are three different shades of
Don, I think we have to be able to talk about these issues in the open, regardless of the color of our skin.
Did you hear that? If you have the wrong skin color, you're not allowed to disagree with Don Lemon. He was talking to 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. The conversation quickly heating up there, talking about gun rights and black Americans. Let's welcome in now 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. He's the entrepreneur. We know him so well. He's also the author of Woke Inc. Great to see you, Vivek.
Good to see you, John. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, and I think that interview with Don Lemon went about probably like we'd expect. As something like this comes up, and you're not allowed to talk about this issue because your skin color doesn't match what the narrative should be for those allowed, in Don Lemon's eyes, to talk about this.
And I reject that worldview. That is what creates this culture of fear in America today, John. And I think we need to be able to talk openly again, regardless of the color of our skin. I actually thought it was a good opportunity where I tried to teach Don Lemon some history that he didn't understand. Actually, the Dred Scott decision before the Civil War, that actually said that black people couldn't be citizens. One of the reasons why was the Supreme Court Justice Taney famously said it was because it would allow black people to own guns. So yes, the Second Amendment was critical to securing the rights of black Americans. But for the likes of Don Lemon, it's hard to square that, because to him, civil rights are good, but Second Amendment is bad. And so the fact that I combined them really, I think, made him have a conniption on air. But I think it's really important, and this is why I go even to other networks. I think it's important to persuade the other side and bring them along. I am in for that fight, and I won't back down from it.
And I know you won't. And has Don Lemon ever asked you a question about your family's story, about how your family wound up in Ohio? It's fascinating, and he should, because that would have been a much better interview. But I want to talk about a couple stories right now that are in the headlines that underscore your point about this. And we'll start with a story out of Dadeland, Alabama. There were 3 teens have been arrested there, 4 people shot, 4 people killed rather, 16 people shot. But we know Ben Crump, he's not going to Alabama. Al Sharpton's not going to Alabama because they say, unlike that shooting in Kansas City, Missouri, there's not the right racial component here. Those are their words. There are also no gun control advocates there because these teens used handguns, and nobody's talking about banning handguns because that would never work. They have to be assault weapons, otherwise the gun control advocates don't show up. The story has to be so custom tailored to a predetermined narrative for it to get any attention.
It is shocking, John. First of all, one of the things that we need to address is the root cause, which is the loss of respect for rule of law in this country. Okay, you go to Kensington in Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia. You go to Chicago, San Francisco, New York. What's interesting is that the cities with the tightest gun control laws are also the ones with the greatest gun violence. The ones that they say clear the jails and defund the police are also the ones that want to actually take away law-abiding citizens' right to exercise their Second Amendment rights and protect themselves. But I think that the way in which this debate has gone so south is it's covered up by these narratives. And when it doesn't fit the narrative, then you don't end up hearing about it. Part of what I'm doing is saying that we need to start talking openly again. And once we do, we cut through that artifice. And it is sad. You know, there's the debate. They'll say if you say all lives matter, you're racist.
Right.
They want to say black lives matter. I even say all black lives matter, because in a certain sense, they only care about the black lives that fit the narrative.
Right. They don't care about black lives when they're in the womb. They don't care about that.
Exactly.
This brings us to a broader conversation that's happening right now. It was actually a subject of an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and it talks about if Western civilization dies, which we're actively talking about happening, put it down as a suicide. We are in the grip of an ideology that disowns our genius, denounces our success, and disdains our merit. And that is what Don Lemon did to you in that interview.
Well, good. The reason I held my ground and make sure that I came out ahead on that was because it's important to fight for the ideals of this country itself. And I think that there is this anti-American strain now. It's not even the Democrat Party, John. It is an anti-American movement in this country that wishes to reject the ideals that this nation was founded on. I'm in the pro-American movement, but I think that most of the country is still on our side, which is why I'm hopeful. It's not a 50-50 split like between Democrats and Republicans. I think 80% of Americans or more believe in those basic ideals that this nation was founded on. The question is, are we willing to be courageous enough and make the sacrifices to actually fight for those ideals?
Right.
That is why last night I went to a college campus. That is why yesterday morning I went and debated Don Lemon. We need that courage to actually see that through for our country, and that's what I'm hoping to deliver.
And are Democrats going to have the courage to talk about what's happening? You know, we've talked about the decay, the American decay, and they don't want to talk about it.
No, because some of it is their own policies that are making it be as bad as it is. Vivek, we want to get your reaction to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announcing his long shot bid yesterday for the Democratic presidential nomination 2024. He did it in Boston. I want to play a bit of his speech and get your reaction after.
I've come here today to announce my candidacy for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. My mission over the next 18 months of this campaign and throughout my presidency will be to end the corrupt merger of state and corporate power.
All right, a new USA Today Suffolk University poll, Vivek, already has Biden losing 14% to RFK. He's taking a little chunk there. So we know you're not shying off from any debates after that Don Lemon clip we just saw. What would you like to say to your Democratic challenger now, RFK Jr., today about his policies and his plan for America?
Look, I think he's courageous. He is an embodiment of courage in contrast to Joe Biden. I think it's going to be good for the Democratic Party and good for the country that he runs. I did get in touch with him directly myself to say, you know what, we need to have more open debate. I invited him onto my podcast. He said he's going to come here. So I'm talking to you from Columbus, Ohio, and expect to be on the podcast with him debating these ideas in the open. So you're right. I'm all over that. And I think that's going to be good for our country. I don't agree with him on a lot of issues, social policies and otherwise, that relate to the Democratic Party. But I still respect his courage from defecting from the orthodoxies of the cult of scientism and COVID-19 and a lot of the other orthodoxies in the Democrat Party. I'll applaud somebody even if he's on the other party and saying the right things about certain issues and still disagree with him on the issues that I think that we need to do better on. So he'll be on my podcast pretty soon. And I think that's an embodiment of what America's all about. We can disagree in the open, but we still share the same ideals.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we're going to see it happen again. A Lincoln-Douglas-style debate in a podcast. It's 21st century. I like it. I will be watching. And if you guys need a moderator, Vivek, I'm here for you. Just
maybe we'll take you up on that.
I'll be happy to do it. Great to see you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Vivek. Good to have you in today. Stay with us. Much more ahead. We're talking about Chicago. They are already warning residents. Yes.